Went from condos to Pop's house. On calls now bus routes.
All right, so let's get to the next topic. So we got Maverick City's manager Norman. Oh man. So Norman is a Grammy award winning manager for Maverick City. He also managed others as well, right? And he did an interview, and during this interview, he was basically talking about the music industry, like other artists, managers, where the music industry, mainly from the gospel side, and everything like that. Just talking about what's going on in the music industry now, and also exposing things in the music industry as well, right? So I wanna play this interview, and look, a lot of people were really mad about some things that he said, very very mad. Well, extremely mad, because you even had some videos where people were saying that he should get canceled. They're canceling people everywhere, or trying to, because I don't believe you really could get canceled nowadays. All you got to do is have a huge base of followers, and as long as those people support you, you cannot get canceled. So I don't understand this. Look, cancel culture is over. It's over. So yeah, Christians and people are mad about some stuff he said, but you can't cancel anybody. That's over, man. But when it comes down to this interview, I'll just say this before you watch it. I'll say, I didn't feel like, oh my goodness, he is a serious sinner who is gonna go to hell and he needs to be exposed. I didn't feel like that after looking at this interview myself. But I mean, I do think that he said some things that, it may show that he's still battling with things of this world. Like fame, celebrityism. I call it celebrityism. Financial success, things like that. Maybe some pride, some ego. I believe he is battling with certain things. No one is perfect, though. None of us. Any Christian out there try to say, oh, I'm perfect, or think they perfect, and they don't stink at all. Like, I got to give you one of these. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody is perfect, right? But when someone do an interview and say some of the things that he said, I mean, people got a right to express their opinion. But people saying he should get canceled, and oh nah, he's not a Christian. He's a sinner, and everything like that. I think you're going a little too far. A little too far, man. And I come from judgmental, Christian background of those type of individuals that were around me growing up and everything, right? A lot of those small black churches are very judgmental. Trust me on that, right? But I never took after that, So I don't think that he said anything that showed, oh, he's not a Christian and he's not a believer. That isn't up to us to make that decision. And I didn't hear him say anything that showcased that, But he said some things that could rub people the wrong way. So let's go on and play some of this. I'm gonna play like a good 10 minutes, and then I want to play a different part, right, of this interview. Just sit back and enjoy, and yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit after we play some of it. All right, so let's get to it.
Yo, that's so good, Norman. That's so good.
Awesome.
And what was the turning point that you made when you knew that something different had to happen to resurrect or reshape the Christian / gospel industry?
I mean, I'm gonna be straight up. I knew it the first day. Y'all, it was stale.
Mm-hmm.
There was no infrastructure, I shall say. So when I looked at Christian music versus gospel music, everybody had a manager, not a homegirl, not an auntie. And everybody had an agent.
Right.
They didn't go church to church to church. They toured.
Right.
They had infrastructure. And so when I came in with Travis, he had Monica as his manager. He didn't have no agent. There was no touring opportunities. They was going church and they was making good money going church to church to church, but I knew it wasn't sustainable.
Okay.
Because this is the thing about when you do church gigging. Churches only need you if their worship team sucks. And as time goes on, talent was increasing. Access to talent was increasing. So now a pastor can go on Instagram and see somebody that can sing, and why I can pay him $90,000 a year. Why I'm gonna keep paying people $25,000 every weekend? Right. When I can pay one dude to get up here, I can pay Todd once. He'll get up here and kill it every week. We're gonna put together an amazing worship team. I remember saying, this way of making money not gonna last. Because as churches went more towards worship music and the pandemic showed me, once everybody learned how to stream, it was over. Because now everybody needed good worship. Right. You had to entertain people at home. It never came back. The only church that still be bringing people is the church in Detroit, Triumph.
Triumph.
That's it. That's the only church that still bring people. And I think he just likes it. He doesn't have to. He can hire anybody. So, that's 9 services. That's a lot. But
but they pay good, though.
They pay good.
They pay good.
But that's what I'm saying. So what I noticed in the marketplace was nobody was capturing content. Mm-hmm. So me and Travis had done this show in Africa. There was 1 million people there.
Yes.
And
the experience, right?
The experience. I literally said to him, bro, we should have captured this. He's like, what do you mean? I said, Travis, when I say to people, like right now I'm telling y'all, Travis performed in front of 1 million people. Everybody has a different idea in their mind what they look like. You probably see a room with 1,000. Some people literally see a room with 1,000 people and say, wow, that's a lot of people. Right. When you see 1 million people singing somebody's song, that's like when Chris Brown went to South Africa. He had 300,000, 100,000. Travis performed in front of 1 million people. I was the 1 million.
That's crazy.
1 million people. And they were singing his songs word for word. I said, if we show this, people gonna think you larger than life. So we came up with this campaign called Travis Green World Tour. We I hired Kayla Madonna. Y'all know Kayla Madonna. You know the red hair girl? You don't know Kayla?
I don't know Kayla.
She from Atlanta.
I don't know.
She red has to take photographs all the time, photographer.
Okay.
So I hired her as a videographer. I said, you gotta learn how to do video. Okay. So Kayla was my first employee ever. So we took Kayla all around the world. They went to Dubai, we went to Antigua, Anguilla, we went to Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Lagos, South Africa. I took him everywhere. And we took a camera and I routed it like it was tour, put a flyer up called the Travis Green World Tour, and that was the start of my marketing company, the ICO Group. Yeah. So the ICO Group is really what I built to fix the holes I saw in gospel.
Got you.
That's what it was. It mainly was around content creation. There was no Dillons when I started.
Right.
There was nobody in this space doing content. So we was the first people, we shot videos for every song, and we shot content wherever we went.
Yo, that's crazy. So let's go here. What was the transition like from going from Travis to Mav?
Okay, now that was crazy. So Travis had been on this run. We had 5 Grammy nominations back to back, number one after number one. We had did sold out tours. And I think I had took on 2 more clients, J.J. Harrison and Israel Houghton. Okay. By this point. And I think in any relationship, especially when you family, it becomes this navigation of egos. I'm the rising star exec, he the rising star artist. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think in gospel for a long time, it was like one manager, one artist. So like Ty and Kelvin or, Kirk and Ron or, you knew, when you seen somebody, you knew who their manager was. It was like freaking frat. That's how it was. What's his name? Ricky Dillon and I can't think of the other dude's name. What's his name? Who? No, it's not Ricky Dillon and Kip.
I can't
what's the little dude now? I can't think of his name either right now. But you knew it. It was like this symbiotic relationships. And I modeled myself out to Scooter Braun. That's what I saw. When I come in anything, I'm not comparing myself to what's elite in that space. I'm comparing myself to what's elite.
Period.
What period?
Yeah.
Just period. So the best run management company I thought at the time was Urban Asoff and Scooter Braun. Urban Asoff is full stop. Scooter Braun had, SB projects. And that's what I believe was necessary in gospel. So I wanted to build this organization. So that's why I started hiring managers to work with me.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was the pathway to success. And so during this time, we moving, the pandemic hit. My marketing, nobody's moving around.
Right.
So you got to find a way to make money.
Right.
Maverick was the only one still doing things, and I got lucky. There was a clubhouse where everybody was talking junk about Maverick.
Yes.
There was a clubhouse.
I was on that.
All the execs was talking junk about Maverick. Because I didn't start Maverick. I bought into it. But I knew the kids. Chandler came from my church. Dante used to sing with Travis. Aaron Moses was our keys players. I knew the kids. And so I knew the owners because I met them in London. The way people were talking down on them and what they had done, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really thought that.
It was unwarranted.
Beyond it was unwarranted, it was short-sighted.
Gotcha.
Like, it was really short-sighted. If you were looking, people look at now. So people are looking at right now and they see gospel right now. I see it 5 years from now. Not where it is, but where it's going. So you have to look at what is bubbling. And so what you saw under the surface bubbling was churches had stopped singing traditional gospel music.
Right.
And the churches that were growing were singing worship.
Okay.
So what I knew, because I had worked in the church, was that when we redo the big worship songs, like if you see Todd do It Again,
right.
That's an elevation song, or you see him do Goodness of God,
right.
It feels different than when Jen Johnson does it at Bethel,
right.
Than when Chris Brown does it at Elevation.
Right.
And so what I saw in Maverick was the perfect storm. You had black kids with, respectfully, white writers,
right,
and producers. So they were training them not to oversing, to sing it, to be singable, and also they were making content during the pandemic when everybody wanted God. You know what I mean? And they were great songs. It wasn't like, we gonna get over it, we gonna get over it. They were making music that resonated with people because the reality is we didn't grow up like our parents.
Right.
I grew up with a two-parents household, both of my parents doctors. I don't know nothing about no struggle, no disrespect to anybody that does. I ain't grew up on no food stamps in the hood. Yeah. So my kids can't relate to, the way Never Would Have Made It hit my grandma don't hit me the same way.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? The way it's different. We relate to a different story. We relate to our struggles today, and I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm just speaking to the general young black kid. Our struggles today are more internal than they are external forces. Yes, there's still racism and all that stuff exists, but, we getting up, going to work, the bills is paid, right. We got the cars, so a song like, if he dresses the lilies, it's like, dang, God will keep me fly. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
As you can see, Norman is he kind of funny to me though, man. But there's another part I wanted to move on, and also too, if you want to watch this entire interview, go to the Isaac Casey show. Go to his channel. And you can watch the whole interview there, right? I honestly didn't even know of this show until this interview was being talked about the way that it was. So go watch the whole interview there if you want to watch the entire interview, right? But I want to move along to a different part of this interview that I want you all to see. This is the part that got a lot of people upset, right? So let's go there really quick. Now, that part right there that I just basically played didn't have people happy at all, right? As well. But the part I'm about to go to next is really what made people upset. But and also too, I want to apologize in advance. Isaac Carey, okay? I told you this is the first time, and I know he's a gospel artist too, but this is the first time. I'm really learning about his podcast and about his artistry and everything like that too. So I apologize. It's Isaac Carey. All right. My bad. But all right. So let's get to the second part with Maverick City Manager Norman basically talking about the music industry and the way he look at it. So let's get to it. All right. Hold on.
Listen, Maverick broke a lot of traditional Christian norms. Was that intentional or was it just God?
No, it was intentional. Maverick broke because the gospel norms wasn't working no more, man. Y'all sing too hard. Y'all over sing.
Good God.
Stop doing that. Nobody want to hear no runs. They look at runs. They don't want to sing runs. That's why R&B and pop, that's why pop is more popular than R&B. People like singable music. Wow. They want to, like you would rather, that's why Chris Tomlin was the greatest worship leader ever. Why? You know want to know why?
Why?
He's not the best vocalist ever.
Wow.
So people like to hear music. They think, oh, I could do that. That's what's going to happen at a church. If a worship leader hear you singing, he think, I could never do that. He's not going to sing the song. Like why would he? If you sing a song in a way that like it's congregational, that's why the mix on that stuff is different. We mix towards us singing. They mix towards the congregation singing. You'll hear a lot of loud audience, BGV, more instrumentation. Barely you're gonna hear the main vocal, but it's different. The reason in that is that makes you want to sing. The way you get people to love a song is they sing the song. Think about it. Think about the songs you love the most. You know all the lyrics.
Right.
And then you hear a song, it don't matter how good a song is. If you don't know the lyrics, it's like, next song. You can't wait to hear a song you know all the lyrics to. Everybody's that way. And so when you can get a singable song, then you got a hit. Then people want to sing it, and that's what Maverick made songs people wanted to sing.
Facts.
And they made videos that looked like they was in the living room with you during the pandemic. Coming out of the pandemic, we had to come up with a new strategy of how to still invite people in. But all in all, Maverick took what they were doing in more so Christian worship music and brought it to gospel. You brought really well-developed songs, light production. Everybody say every Maverick song sound the same. So y'all sing them all. You know what I'm saying? Who cares that they all sound the same? You know, and there was some...
And they don't, but I get what you're saying.
There's some struggles in that for them as well because you are... these are still really talented artists.
Right.
You look at these artists, they know that they are... I don't want to say dumbing down, but they're pacifying their strengths. Chandler can sing circles around. You know what I'm saying? These people can sing. Hear Brandon Lake can sing like Chris Staples, they can sing like Justin Bieber. They can do it, but there's something in bridling that. Like really not going full go every time.
Yeah.
And then they didn't use BGVs, they used the choir. And the choir, they just took a different approach because the reality of what we were doing in gospel isn't what was permeating music at the time.
Right.
I look at consumption. People love to talk about number ones. If you talk about a radio number one in gospel, that's not a number one. A radio is not number one no more. You can't, if you look at the number one songs at radio and you combine the last 10 number one songs at radio, skip Chan, skip Kirk, they don't have 100,000 streams combined.
Jesus.
So having a number one at radio doesn't mean anything in gospel, not right now. And that's not a knock to gospel, that's a knock to us in supporting the infrastructure. So Maverick was able to get consumption. So you go look at it today, and I'm gonna say something, most people not gonna believe this. Maverick City outstreams the entire gospel industry combined.
I believe that.
By themselves.
I believe that.
If you add up every other artist's streams and just compare it to Maverick City, they outstream everybody else combined. And what that is telling you is that clearly what they are doing is what people want to hear. Stop.
That right there is why I say you can't cancel someone who have a base. You can't cancel someone who have a following. As much as you don't like what he says or what comes out of his mouth, You can't cancel him. that you can get on your knees and pray that God remove him from his position, so he don't represent gospel music anymore. You could do that, and hey, you never know what may happen, but you can't cancel him. You just can't do that. But all right, we're gonna play a little bit more, and then we'll talk about this a little bit.
Fighting the tide. People keep saying, we want choir music back. Choir music would have never died if people wanted to listen to it. We need to do more quartet. If people want to listen to quartet, it would still be a thing.
Wow.
You don't see, like, when people stop consuming something, they don't want it. You don't see, okay, there's nostalgic value like to a vinyl or to a Kodak camera, but at the end of the day, you still take most of your pictures on your phone.
Right.
You go do the little thing, that's cool here and there, but you want that 8K picture.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm saying these things to say that there should have, the problem that happened was gospel should have embraced Maverick. They should have embraced it, made it their own, collaborated with them, done everything they could to see them go forward.
All right, cool. We're gonna stop it right there, man. One thing that I can say about Norman is he's very outspoken. He have a lot to say. He don't hold back what he want to say and how he want to say it at all. And yeah, I could see why a lot of people may look at in the industry may look at him as like a pest. Very outspoken, he says what's on his mind. Hey, he speak whatever's on his heart. Yeah, man. And this is my first time ever hearing about Norman. I've never really listened to Maverick City too much. To be transparent and honest with you all, I'm still into when I'm listening to my gospel jams, I still listen to the Winans, BB and CC Winans, the Winans brothers, the Can Spirituals, John P. Key, Yolanda Adams, Donnie McClurkin. I never really was too much Kirk Franklin do good music, but I don't bump Kirk Franklin in my car. Who else we got? A little Dietrich Haddon sometimes. Yeah, man. I'm still into, that great, gospel singing, vibe. Now I've been little by little getting into, a little bit of the newer Christian artists. But I love great singing. That's what I love, right? So we're kind of different when it come down to that side of it. With how Norman feel and everything. Because it seemed like he's more into like the new age, gospel singing and everything. When it come down to more worship, music and everything, which I love worship music. I could be in the church and listen to worship for an entire hour. So I mean, I love it, but I'm still really much into the great gospel singing artists, of old and new too, as well. But this is what I'll say in regards to Norman. Now, to be real with all of you, it's never right, but I used to be very judgmental about, gospel music as well. Very, very judgmental. I come from a big family full of musicians and artists, and great artists. Like I've said many times, my grandfather has 17 kids. It's over 100 of us grandchildren, and everyone can either play an instrument or sing a song, rap. Like, the talent is there, and there's been many deals that have been put on my grandfather's table. My grandfather never wanted his kids to sing contemporary gospel, so he wouldn't take no deals. He had, I believe, a deal from CBS. Back in the days, Motown, like the deals were on the table, but my grandfather was not having it. So, my family just sung at revivals, with other really great musicians and artists. But if you ask a lot of people from them times when they was out there singing, they'll say, "Oh, they was one of the best." So coming up in a family like that, I was very judgmental. Whenever I would go to church and I would hear the worship team and I hear the main singer and things like that, I would be honest, like, ain't that good, or I'm not really feeling the singing and everything like that, But at that time too, I didn't have the right mindset, about serving God, and I would say this is probably one of Norman issues right now. Because it seemed like that's still like that's where his mind is at. That's his mindset. Which it should really just be about hearing worship music and listening to it for what it is, and that's serving God, right? So that should be the focus. So one thing that I would say is that he has to get to a place where he fully separate himself from the world. I still could see that he have an issue with separating himself from the world. I feel like the world is still kind of in him, maybe more because of what he do. And I'm not being judgmental. I'm giving my opinion from what I heard. This is the first time I ever saw an interview with Norman, right? I never really listened to Maverick City. And after seeing this interview, I listened to a couple of the songs. But this is my first time, right? So I'm just saying, from the outside looking in, it looked like he have an issue with fully separating himself from the world, and also an issue with how he look at success, right? The focus should always be worshiping, worshiping in a way to where you're focused on, God. Your focus, the worship is focused on leading others to Christ. That should be the focus. Awards, accolades, and money should not be a focus or concern when it comes to serving the Lord. A lot of what he said come off as kind of self-focused. I could definitely see that, with the way he talked about old school gospel artists and how when he came to work with Maverick, he focused more on the business aspect of things instead of the worship aspect. This is how you become successful. Sing a little bit, the old school gospel artists, they do all those runs and everything like that. You don't got to do that. Let's focus on the business side of worship, which really, when it comes to worship, the focus should be whatever comes out, whatever God leads you to do. It shouldn't, matter whether it's runs or just singing straight. It don't matter. Just worship. That's what it should be about, right? But he's focused more on the business side of things, but this is what I'll say about that. Like I said, I'm kind of like I'm transparent when it comes down to transparent, honest, and also I want to show that I understand where he's coming from as well. Now, first and foremost, serving God is first, right? Business is not first. So I could see where he made some mistakes, or he have a lot of growing to do when it come down to serving God, and following the faith, right? But being a business owner myself, I can see where he is coming from as well when it comes to, him running, his business and making strategic business decisions, while building his company and brand. I can see that, I mean, like with my business alone, I work on branding, marketing, and looking for new tools every day to help the growth of my business, but the part that I believe Norman have to understand is that you decided to run a business that represent the name of God. This isn't just you went and started a business and you're focusing on marketing and branding, and you know, you're talking about your business the way you're sitting down and having this interview, which is perfectly fine. But you're talking about serving God. Money, business, and success should never be involved in that conversation. It shouldn't. You know, that's just a fact. You know, so that have to all, when it come down to that side of it, he probably had to focus more on humbling himself a little bit more. I could see where people were upset. I can see it now. Now, did I get upset? No. I'm not judgmental, and I give people grace, man. Like, you know, it's yes, it's a narrow road, you know, to get to heaven. But, you know, when Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and Paul talk about this in Romans 7 and 8, he understood that we will fail as Christians. You know, our flesh is still in sin. This flesh is not going to heaven with us. This flesh will turn into dirt. So when Jesus died on the cross for our sins, he gave us grace, love, understanding, you know, and all of those things. So we don't have to worry about sin, you know, once we, you know, become, you know, saved Christians, right? And everything like that. But what I would say, just like in what I would say to somebody like Norman, right, is, you know, you should always ask, you know, well, we, to be honest, should always ask ourselves, you know, what would Jesus do when it comes to the faith, right? And let's just be honest, because he did a lot of this too. What Jesus would do, he would never criticize or denigrate anyone who was worshiping and leading others to the faith. And he did that when it came down to talking about the old Christian artists or the old school Christian artists. You know, Jesus wouldn't criticize them. He would be focusing on the worship. You get what I'm saying? That's not Norman's focus. He focused on the business side of things. And, that's old. So, you know, that's not what works no more. That's not what brings in the money. That's not what people want to see and hear. You know what I'm saying? He's focused on that. So, you know, he got some work in that area. You know, he got some work in that area. You know, can't be saying, oh, yeah, you know, those played out groups or artists, you know, and things like that. That should not be the conversation. You know, as long as they're doing music, worshiping God, that's all that matters. You know, but, you know, obviously, you know, Norman is still, you know, living, you know, in the flesh, you know, and definitely self-focused. So he needs to work on that, you know, but the man is but the man is not a demonic sinner, you know. He's not that guy that they're out there calling him to be. I don't see that. I don't see that. I'm gonna say this because I don't know the man. I don't know who the man is, right? But from what I see, if you ask my opinion, I will say I don't see a demonic sinner. I don't see why he isn't a believer. Nothing that he said to me made me feel like he's not a believer. You know, now, should he repent for some of the things that he said and you know, for some of his behavioral traits and things? Maybe there's room for repentance, right? Because of the way that he thinks, you know, in the way that he because he even mentioned that in the interview. You know, I got to work on the way I approach people, the way I talk to people sometimes. So maybe he need to get on his knees and pray about that and seek God a little bit harder and focus on the fruits of the Spirit and step further away from things that are associated with sinful nature. Maybe he need to do those things. But outside of that, man, I you know, he's human. He's human. You know, you shouldn't expect perfection from a human being. You do expect now. You do expect more out of the leaders, but he's a manager. He's not a preacher. He's not an evangelist. He's not a teacher of the faith. Maybe because he's in there and people could see him, because he's a famous manager for a really big group. Maybe you could say, well, he is a leader, so he shouldn't be going on these interviews and talking like that, because people look at him as a leader. If you want to say that, fine, but he's not a preacher at the end of the day. But I just want us to get to a place as Christians to where we stop being so divided. We can have an opinion, but to say the dude should be canceled and he's a sinner, he's not a believer, and he have demonic spirits floating around him and all of this other stuff. I'm like, come on, that's too much. That's too much. If you want, get on your knees and pray for the man. But at the end of the day, he's still a brother in Christ. He's still a brother in Christ. So pray for him. Say what you got to say and move on. But we got to stop trying to destroy each other, man. That's not godly right there. So y'all wrong too for trying to say we should cancel this man and call him out as a non-Christian and he's a false prophet and all this other stuff people were saying. I'm like, come on, man, this is going a little bit too far.
I had to show 'em